Thanks, Senator Ó Donnghaile.
And yeah, I want to thank Billy in the first instance for bringing the legislation forward, because I think this is an important discussion. I think, as outlined by previous contributors, it's a discussion that we need to have as a society. I thought we were bad in the north with the restricted opening hours, but then discover soon upon coming to this House that this Good Friday prohibition, as Senator Lawless calls it, is actually in place. So I want to stress a couple of points, Minister, at this early stage of my contribution. That we in Sinn Féin, first and foremost as Republicans who believe in a civic, broadly civic society, a society where all traditions are equal, where all views of the world are equal, believe that pubs should be allowed to open on Good Friday. There should be no barrier to that because a certain religious perspective or religious denomination thought in the past that should in fact be the case. And I caveat that statement with respect for those who want to observe their religious practices on Good Friday, and that is absolutely their right to do so, and they should be afforded every opportunity to do so. But I don't believe, and we don't believe, that a bar being allowed to open on Good Friday hinders or prohibits them from doing that in any way, shape or form. I have been, so I don't want to be inconsistent, I have been very much to the fore in my previous role as a Belfast City Councillor, and indeed having the privilege to serve as Belfast Lord Mayor, and saying that we needed to change and modernise our licensing laws there to bring them into the 21st century. And that is speaking as someone, as I said, where pubs are allowed to open for a limited period on Good Friday and over the course of the Easter weekend. So I won't be inconsistent, and I think that's why the bill today before us is an important one, and important not just in terms of what it's saying about the block on Good Friday, but also about what kind of society we want to be. And I think the more pluralist our society, the more beneficial for us all ultimately. I would share maybe some, and I hope I'm not prejudging what he's going to say, but I would share some of what Senator Norris's concerns he's expressed, this kind of tweed notion of the Irish pub. I'm someone who enjoys the Irish pub, so I make no apologies for that. But I think when we're encouraging tourists here to go in to the Irish pub, we should be encouraging them to go in and avail of the music, of the crack, of the hospitality, of the Irish Céad Míle Fáilte, not throwing loads of money at Diageo. That would just be, you know. So I'm just saying, if we're encouraging people into, it should be right across the board in terms of what the pub offers. So we do have concerns about the public health aspect as a Seanad. As a Seanad, and Senator Black's bill has been referred to. I do think we just need to be careful, maybe in terms of how we approach this issue too. But for us, Minister, our main concern around the bill, and I made the point about Senator Lawless's engagement with us thus far, which has been very positive and has been very proactive, because what we want to do is actually try to work collaboratively with colleagues to improve the legislation going forward. We have some very, very serious concerns about working conditions for staff within pubs and that sector moving forward. And this actually, through maybe no intention, has actually shone a light on those conditions once again. And my colleague, Senator Gavin, will outline some of our concerns, but they've already been articulated by Mandate and other trade unions. I suppose the reality is that what we need to do is look at these issues in their own right, on their own merit, acknowledge the fact that, as was said previously, a publican can bring staff in on Good Friday, can tell them to do a stock take, can tell them to do a deep clean, can tell them to paint the ceiling in the toilets. What we need to actually get to the position to, if we're serious about it, is actually implementing existing legislation that protects workers, that puts workers in that sector and in that trade first. that affords them the opportunities where it is. It is not good enough to simply say that people working in a pub are guaranteed only 2 days off a year. I have heard that articulated in relation to this bill, and then you discover that that actually isn't the case at all. Most bars will bring people in to work on Good Friday. Some of them, dare I say it, might even open through the back door and serve drink on Good Friday as well. So all of this, I think, needs to be taken in the round, and that's why I think it's a positive situation that today we didn't move all stages of this bill, because it's important. I don't think it's ever good practice to try and drive pieces of legislation as significant and as important as this through the House. We need to have an opportunity, particularly at committee stage, for members in the first instance to tease out some of the concerns, to work with the proposers of the bill to try and improve it where we see fit, but also to hear from the stakeholders, to hear from, indeed, the publicans and their representatives, but also to hear from the trade unions and the representatives of the workers as well, who will be impacted as a result of any change. But for us, I mean, it's an early stage. We won't be opposing the bill at this stage moving forward, but we do seek to improve the bill where there is an understanding, there is an acceptance, and there is an acknowledgement therein that the conditions currently being faced by staff and by people working within that trade and that sector simply is untenable. I think it was something along the lines of, what was it you said this morning, Paul, the percentage under €300 a week?
€400 a week, under €400 a week, 75%.
75% of employees. So that is the reality. The last thing I think we should be doing is, yes, let's bolster our tourism offer, let's bolster the tourism, the nighttime economy, but let's, for God's sake, look at the existing legislation whereby if we're expecting staff to go in and to work on those days, that we as a society, that we as a state, and that we as a government, and indeed these houses, do everything that we can to ensure that they are protected, that they are valued, and that they are afforded a salary and protections that reflect the demand that we are placing on them.